Has just broken out at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees are on top of the baseball world again for the first time since 1978. Welcome to our studios here in New York. Mike Crispino along with Bob Page. It was a 3-2 count with 2 outs and 2 runners on in a 1-run game. And John Wetland, who has done this to us many, many times before, did it again tonight.
It's always an adventure with Wetland, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Michael, you know, every game you said it can't get any better than this. It can't get any more exciting than this. That stirring Yankee comeback from a 6-run deficit the other night, the 1-0 game. What could they possibly do tonight? And what a dramatic, what an amazing sequence of events we've just seen as John Wetland comes into the 9th inning with that 3-1 lead. He gives up a run, and then he gets the tough little Mark Lemke 3-2 pitch. He fouls one over by the dugout. Could have been interference as Charlie Hayes nearly caught it. And then the next pitch, virtual replay, but this time Charlie about 3 feet from the stands. Just an utterly remarkable game and an utterly remarkable World Series.
The Yankees have done the improbable, some think the impossible, beating the team of the 90s after being down 2-0. And Bob, I know you were among those who were burying the Yankees after Game 1 and Game 2, and I was with you, maybe not as adamantly as you were, but I thought the most important statement made after those 2 games came from Joe Torre when he said in the post-game press conference after Game 2, if you win 1 game in a series like this, you can change the momentum. And the Yankees did that thanks to David Cone in Game number 3.
And here's what I think has to happen here, Michael. You have to give the New York Yankees just a tremendous amount of credit for winning this World Series, coming from behind in the gritty fashion they did. Now, Atlanta is not a particularly tough media market, but I think a lot of people down there are going to be writing and they're going to be saying, a lot of fans are going to be saying that the Braves choked. How could the Atlanta Braves, up 2-0 and going home, lose 4 straight to the New York Yankees? But this was not a case of the Braves choking. How can you say John Smoltz choked? He went out and pitched an utterly brilliant game and loses 1-0. And Greg Maddux tonight came up with a quality start. And the Braves just were beaten by the Yankees. And what can you say about David Cone? The Braves could not do much with him the other night. It was the Yankees pitching, the Yankees guts, and the Yankees pride and talent that came through. As you look right here, and you see once again that the New York Yankees are the 3rd team in Major League Baseball history to lose the first 2 games of a World Series at home and come back to win the series anyway. Utterly remarkable.
So many strange twists in this series as well. I mean, just improbable happenings. Marquise Grissom makes 1 error all year, makes 3 errors in the postseason, costs his team and John Smoltz a game in Game number 5. I mean, that happened. Weird hits. Ryan Klesko loses the ball in the lights. Charlie Hayes' ground ball ends up rolling, staying fair, and the Yankees have a rally. And when we look at the numbers of this thing, and we will over the next hour or 2 that we spend here talking about the Yankees winning the World Championship, we're going to say to ourselves, how did they do this? I mean, only 1 or 2 hitters actually hit for any average whatsoever for the Yankees in this series. Cecil Fielder, could he be the MVP? I think you had it on the nail on the head when you said John Wetland may be the MVP
we
for
were
saving all 4 victories.
We were talking about this in the studios just before we went on the air tonight and asking if the Yankees were to win this series, what would happen. And I think the MVP, if it hasn't been awarded already, would probably have to go to John Wetland, despite the fact that, again, it's usually an adventure with Mr. Wetland, as it was tonight in the 9th inning in the Bronx.
Amazing that I think 4 or 5 Yankee regulars couldn't hit 200 in this series. You had Paul O'Neill, Wade Boggs, virtually no contributions except the bases-loaded walk, which is one of the key plays in this series. Look at Mariano Duncan, couldn't get a base hit. Tino Martinez, not 1 RBI, and yet Joe Torre squeezed out 4 victories from this team. The bullpen has to be commended. They were just absolutely sensational.
And yet, Mike, the same thing happened to the Atlanta Braves. You look at Javi Lopez, who was the National League Championship Series most valuable player, and he was just horrendous. And his frustrations, I thought, were low-lighted tonight when he struck out on that pitch. I had it, here it is right here, I think at the top of the 6th inning, when he struck out on a pitch that was totally out of the strike zone, whatever it was, in my busy page of notes right here. And Lopez just looked utterly miserable, as did Ryan Klesko, for the most part, as did a lot of these Atlanta Braves high-powered hitters.
I don't know if you agree with this, but I thought Atlanta, after winning those first 2 games, and you can't blame them for this, and winning them in the fashion that they did, actually gloated, felt almost overconfident. They knew they were going to go back home and win at least 2 out of 3 to end this thing and become the defending champions and win 2 straight years. They hadn't watched the Yankees all season long, as we had, and certainly hadn't seen that much of them in the previous 2 rounds of these playoffs, but the Yankees just never say die. I mean, it's a cliche, but they never felt they were out of any game, and somehow, some way, they came up with a way to win a game, whether it's a stolen base, a key hit. Joe Girardi tonight, a triple. Girardi hadn't done a thing offensively. Rips a triple over Grissom's head, who's playing shallow.
Yeah. Only the Braves would be able to say, and I don't think they would really ever admit it if they were overconfident about this. Again, I just think that, in baseball, great pitching is going to stop momentum on a dime. And you saw the Braves with that tremendous momentum going back down to Atlanta. So what happens? David Cone comes through with a tremendous pitching effort, and then the Yankees take it from there. And what can you say about the effort that Andy Pettitte staged? And then tonight, Jimmy Key was terrific. And Mike, once again, we see a case of every single move, you talk about MVPs, Joe Torre made for the New York Yankees comes up roses. He goes out to get Jimmy in the 6th inning. Key's pitched 5 1/3, and he has not really had much trouble with the Braves. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, hey, this is the last game of the year, probably. It certainly is Jimmy Key's last game of the year. Let's ride with this guy. Why would you take a chance? Why make the move? Joe makes the move. You can't criticize anything he does.
I thought Key might have been losing it a little bit. If you recall, in the 4th and 5th, he was having trouble getting strikes. He was not getting any first pitch strikes, certainly getting behind hitters. And I think eventually that was going to cost him. So Torre made the quick hook, and it worked out.
They said on the Fox broadcast, a couple of the analysts were saying that he wasn't challenging hitters. Well, look, the same Jimmy Key to me. I mean, Key is a control pitcher, and he is always nibbling right around the corners. He doesn't really have to challenge hitters because he has that great control. At this stage of his career, with the arm problems he's had, he's lost a little bit of stuff that he's had in the past. So I thought it was the same Jimmy Key. But again, Joe comes out, presses the buttons, and everything he does is just absolutely brilliant. There's your MVP. Unfortunately, they can't give it to a manager.
Absolutely. The importance of the bullpen, let's take a look at it graphically. The Yankee bullpen was just sensational all postseason long. This is a group that was maligned toward the end of the regular season. David Weathers, was he going to even be on the postseason roster? Graham Lloyd, should the Yankees keep him on the roster? He's absolutely perfect. Didn't allow a runner in the World Series. And, of course, Wetland did his job, Mariano Rivera did his job, and Weathers and Lloyd, and it was just a phenomenal relief performance by the Yankees, and that could have been the difference in the entire series. Mark Wohlers couldn't get the job done against Jim Leyritz, and we're going to get into some other discussions. I would like to hear what you think about this. Bobby Cox, the manager, I thought in Game 5 cost his team that game.
Well,
going with Mark Wohlers. Game 4.
Yeah, you hear people say things like that, and the response that I've had to that this series is this: when you're managing in the heat of a World Series, and these guys are both outstanding managers, you make moves, you roll the dice. It comes up great for Joe Torre. So you and I are sitting here talking about how brilliant Joe is, and I'm saying Joe should be the MVP of the series. It backfired on Bobby Cox. It could have been the other way around.
Exactly.
Bobby Cox is an outstanding manager, and while we're talking about people who have done outstanding jobs, I want to say right now that Bob Watson has done a tremendous job all season long as general manager of the New York Yankees. He was flagellated by George Steinbrenner and by other people for a couple of the moves he made, and I think I criticized him right here for the David Weathers deal when Weathers came over here and Mark Hutton went down to Florida and did such a great job for the Florida Marlins in a starting role. Weathers was so awful when the Yankees got him. As you all know, they sent him back to Columbus, for goodness sake. Weathers was brilliant in the postseason, and when Graham Lloyd apparently started to feel better, I guess he had shoulder problems in the game here. You saw the kind of left-handed reliever this guy is, which is exactly why Bob Watson traded for him. And I'm sure that, at least I hope that in the sense of fairness, George will have a discussion with Bob Watson when this is over, and maybe even apologize to Bob for being so publicly critical of Watson and basically telling him your job is on the line and you're probably going to get fired if you don't get that trade with Milwaukee rescinded. So Bob Watson deserves it.
Good evening, guys. I'm with Steve Hurt, and of course, John Wetland is being given that trophy right now. He's the first closer to win the award since Raleigh Fingers in 1974, if we read the record book right, Steve.
That's right, and before that, Larry Sherry in '59.
Let's put a little perspective on this series. I don't remember the first time we said the Yankees appear to be a team of destiny, but I certainly do remember that Ruben Rivera hit in the Baltimore series back in September when the Yankees won an improbable game, and people started saying, you know what, that was weird, strange things are happening. And then, of course, in this playoff season, in the postseason, the Yankees have been unbelievable with these great fortune plays.
Well, you can make a long list of them, and it makes great story, but the thing that I'll remember, and I think the nice thing about this, is that this team will be remembered because this team did something that no team ever did in World Series history, and that's lose the first 2 games at home and then win the next 4 games. So in the future, when a team loses the first 2 at home in the World Series, the '96 Yankees will always be brought up, and it's a nice, enduring legacy to have as a team.
And of course, if we had a little extra disposable income, we could be headed to our vacation homes in Maui right now, because who would have guessed that after losing the first 2 games here in New York, the Yankees could go to Atlanta, do what they do, and do what they did tonight, and along the way beat Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox to do it.
And to do it tonight with a guy who at the start of the season, Jimmy Key talking about, you had no idea what you would get from him this year. And he turns out to be only the 2nd pitcher ever to win a clinching World Series game now with 2 different teams. He did it with Toronto in '92. Catfish Hunter also did it with 2 teams, Oakland and the Yankees.
And if you look at the way the Yankees won this World Series, it really is shocking, because you looked around the field and there were more guys who weren't hitting than there were guys who were hitting.
If you envision that the Yankees would win the World Series after a postseason in which Wade Boggs, Charlie Hayes, Mariano Duncan, Paul O'Neill would all hit below 200, somebody would ask you, hey, and Tino Martinez didn't have an RBI.
Now, Steve, the way I've done this postseason, I take notes and basically only keep notes on the innings that matter, and for the most part, there have been many. For the Yankees, there's basically 1. The Braves, there were about 6, and the most recent one was that 9th inning where John Wetland, I thought, pitched appropriately for the way his season went. You know, this was a guy who actually had an antacid company take an ad out for him to thank him for selling all the extra antacid. That was Zantac, and that became his trademark. And let me tell you, if you were a Yankee fan, you were popping a couple of those antacids in the 9th inning.
And this game, Al, was kind of a microcosm of the series as a whole, because the Yankees had very few chances in the game. They clustered 4 of their 8 hits into the 3rd inning. They got 3 runs. And this is a World Series in which the Yankees were outscored as a whole and had by far the lower batting average, yet they took advantage of every opportunity and came through as a winner.
Cannot say enough about what Joe Girardi did, both defensively and tonight offensively. Joe, in the last couple of games, has thrown out 4 base runners in this game. And you go back to the 3rd inning, Girardi throws out Pendleton. That's the first out. Blauser comes up and then hits a double, so the Yankees would have watched the Braves most certainly score a first run. Then later in the 5th inning, Grissom's on first base with all that speed. The ball gets away. Girardi throws him out in a controversial call. Nonetheless, the call was made. Grissom was out at second base, erasing another possible run in scoring position. So I thought Joe Girardi was big. And then you, of course, throw in his triple to center field that got the Yankees on the board in the 3rd inning. And Joe was a major, major contributor in this World Series.
And also a contributor in keeping Jimmy Key focused. Jimmy Key was not very sharp tonight. Of the first 2 trips through the batting order, the first 18 batters he faced, 13 of the 18 hitters were ahead on the count, either 2-0 or 2-1. And with all of that, Jimmy Key never gave in. The Braves never got the big hit. Of course, the key play being Pendleton bouncing into the double play.
And amazing also the way the Yankees were able to win this game the way they won in the regular season. I mentioned John Wetland's EKG inning in the 9th. Well, they got before that the 2 innings from Mariano Rivera, whose shoulder was actually aching. He's been throwing so hard and so much lately. He gave the Yankees 2 very, very effective innings.
It was a rumor going around the stadium before the game that he might not pitch because of his aching shoulder. Well, he blew that away quite literally.
And David Weathers, who I remember so well for sitting back in the clubhouse, just reveling in the fact that he had, resurrected his career. This was a guy who was acquired by the Yankees to start. He had a miserable start. The sight of him with his head in his hands in the dugout is something I'll never forget from the season. He's sent down to the minors, and suddenly in this postseason, he's pitching key inning after key inning. He gets the job done, and Graham Lloyd, again, well, he's got Ryan Klesko beat right out of the bullpen.
How about if at the beginning of July, you went to David Weathers down in Miami with the Florida Marlins, you went to Cecil Fielder in Detroit, you went to Graham Lloyd in Milwaukee, and you went to Darryl Strawberry, wherever he was,
right,
in St. Paul, and you said, hey, you 4 guys are going to be key components on a world championship team this year.
And
this
Steve,
is storybook.
The winningest team in baseball history now. This is 23 world championships, but the longest time between championships for the Yankees, 18 years. It's been that long.
It's been a long time, since 1978, and of course here they won the 78 championship in LA, they won the 77 championship here. Reggie Jackson was on the field before the game tonight. I said, tonight's your night, Game 6. He says, let's hope it's that way.
I spent most of the game in the stands tonight. I'll tell you, you couldn't fit another person inside Yankee Stadium. It was really squeezed and tight. Everybody was moving around. It seemed as though there were a lot of people who either couldn't stay in their seats or who came in with extra tickets or somehow got in and didn't have a seat. But the police presence was enormous. There were hundreds of police here with scanning cameras on the roof to try and catch people who threw things. I saw a couple of things come off the roof. One idiot ran on the field. He's in jail right now because the Yankees and the New York City Police Department changed their procedure where the police chase the fans on the field, meaning that if you run away from the police, you're actually resisting arrest, a situation that doesn't exist if you're being chased by a security guard. So they fixed that. He's in jail, and the New York City Police and the officers who were here tonight did an outrageous job. Now, we're waiting to begin our full-blown post-game coverage here. Michael Kay's in the Yankee clubhouse. We have cameras there. If there are additional press conferences similar to the one that Bobby Cox had moments ago, we will have that. But we will wait for the official sign-off from Fox to do that. John Wetland's the MVP. The Yankees are the 1996 World Champions. We're done for now in the Bronx for a moment. Let's go back now to Bob Page and Mike Crispino, guys. All right, Bob, I'm with the principal owner of the New York Yankees, George Steinbrenner, who just comes off network TV to join the network that's been following his team all year long. I noticed when someone came up and put this hat on you, you took it off to look at it, and I'm sure when you looked at it, you saw World Series champions. It looked pretty good.
That looked great. And I would always come on here because you people have supported us all year. You're our network.
Mm-hmm. I see that this could possibly be an emotional moment for you. And if it's an emotional moment, you think of people, you think of things that have happened along the way. So what's on your mind?
Well, for one, Joe Torre, what a great job he did. He did just a tremendous job. I'm hard on my people. Everybody knows that. And I've been hard on Bob, and I'm a driver. I drive my people. But this team and this coaching staff have just been unbelievable. They typify New York. You know, my feeling for New York is it's a city of battlers. Everybody in this city's a battler.
I have to tell you, when I saw the news last night and Frank Torre's getting his heart the day before Game 6, and it's from a guy in the Bronx, I said, that's it. That's it for me. I don't need any more signs.
No.
I mean, when I saw that, I was so happy for Joe, so happy for Frank, but that he came from the Bronx was just put it over the top.
That is tremendous, but it's just been such a trying time for Joe. But this team, geez, you just feel, you know, you're out of it, you're down to. I want to tell you something. Joe Torre told me after the first game here with Atlanta, and he wasn't joking because Zimmer was sitting in there and a couple of the other guys, and he says, I'll tell you what we're going to do. He says, we might lose tonight. He says, we're not quite focused yet, but we'll go down there and win 3 in Atlanta and come back here and win it for New York Saturday night. I swear to God, that's what he told me.
Wow.
I had to say to myself, geez, your mouth to God's ears.
Now, you say you drive your people hard, and we all know that because it's been documented over the years.
Yeah.
When was the grouchiest you were during this entire postseason? When was the time when you really had your edge on? And what was it about?
I gained confidence in Joe week after week after week, so that in the end, in this last part...
Even after the first 2 games?
Yeah.
Because, you know, there was...
Well, I was about to have him committed. Yeah. When he told me that. But I swear to God, that's what he said. Now, how do you suppose he knew that with all that was going on in his mind?
Confidence.
Yeah.
But this was a series where it was really fun to manage along with the managers. There were so many things, you know, pinch running for Cecil, doing this, doing that. Did you agree at all times, or were you up there screaming and yelling?
There weren't very many times when I didn't like the move or didn't agree with it. This guy has done a great job, Joe Torre, with all he's had on his mind. And we have our arguments, all of us, but they were never heated. It was always, you know, oh, come on, really? Oh, come on, really? But in the end, what he wanted to do was what we did. Now, I had a little bit of involvement in some of the moves, but
we know the ones that you did get involved in.
Well,
so I'm not trying to have you take credit for anything, but I just want to know what you're the most proud of.
You're not having me take credit for anything?
No, because you'll do that.
Oh, I will. Come on. Oh, dude. It's been a great year for me.
Which is the one you're most proud of?
The Olympic team, and then this. It's been a good winning year. My horse today ran a great race, just lost by half a length in the Breeders' Cup. So it's been a wonderful year, and maybe that's a message. And Father Joyce and Father Hesberg coming in here tonight from South Bend. We had a lot of things working for us.
Were you looking for divine intervention there? I mean, because you went from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer to...
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Those two men, you know. I've just been very fortunate.
How does this World Championship, George, affect the future of the Yankees?
Oh, it speaks well of the future of the Yankees. Plus, I've got a player development system in place now under Mark down in Tampa, Mark Newman, which has every ability to continue to produce the Bernie Williams and the Derek Jeters and the Riveras. You watch us. We've got some great young players down there who are about ready soon to come in. And they will be here. I think we can continue to be a very competitive team.
There were certainly many ways where this whole dream could have been derailed with a pitch here and a hit there. So it's impossible to say that you.
That's not divine intervention.
Exactly. And destiny, and as Felix Unger once said, La Forza del Destino, the forces of destiny, I believe. But people will still sit back and say, he bought it. He bought the World Championship.
No way. No, it didn't. Didn't happen that way at all. We made some moves that everybody was critical of, and you got to admit that. This is a wrong move. That's a wrong move. This shouldn't be done. That shouldn't be done. And they all weren't the large contracts that came in here. Cecil Fielder, some people said, why Cecil Fielder? Well, do you see why now? I don't know who the MVP of the World Series is yet. I haven't heard. I guess John Wetland. Is that right?
Was, yeah.
Well, Cecil was right up there with him.
He proved himself to be a big-time player.
Yes, he did. And it wasn't with the home runs. It was the base hits that he got when we needed them.
How did Yankee Stadium come through all this?
Oh, I think Yankee Stadium is a great place.
But you were exposed to some great facilities, and you saw the other teams could do some things that you couldn't do.
Yeah, they do. They still do. I know what some of these teams are earning in revenue. You got the one thing there. I don't want to get into that on a night like tonight. But one thing you have to remember is we were 6th in the American League in attendance. Seattle outdrew the New York Yankees. That is not right. And we had a good team.
But there is no stadium that feels like this one does when it's a situation like this.
Oh, this crowd tonight was tremendous. But I wish we had that kind of a crowd. See, in Cleveland they draw 40,000 every night. They just open the gates and the people are there. Same in Baltimore.
So what are the rings going to look like?
Well, they're going to be nice because this team, I'm going to put one thing on. I've designed each ring that we've ever won, and courage is going on this one because this team exemplified courage as very few teams ever will.
You know, I've noticed also, I mean, in recent years, the Knicks have gone to the finals. Rangers, too, they won. But I don't think anything captures everybody in New York as widespread as something like this.
Well, one writer said to me this morning on the phone, he called me, he says, well, you know, George, he said, there are some people in New York that hate the Yankees. I said, really? And he said, yes. I said, how many? He says, not many. And I think we're a team that has captured New York, and New York has captured these young kids. Well, some of our fellas went to Madison Square Garden to watch the hockey team or the basketball team, and they got applause they couldn't believe. Derek Jeter couldn't believe it. Just couldn't believe it.
Bernie's going to be expensive now, you know, George.
Thanks. You're expensive.
Bernie, no, not to you.
Since your Olympic work, you become a mega $1 million man.
Yeah, archery does big things.
Well, archery does big things. It was important to us.
What are you going to do tonight?
I'm going to Disney World.
Please.
I'll see you.
Don't go. Where are you going?
I'm going. I want to get some champagne. I haven't had a drink. I haven't even had it poured on me.
You going on the town? Tavern on the green? Where?
No, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm probably going to go to bed and try to get some rest.
I doubt it. Thanks a lot, George.
Okay. We'll see you.
George Steinbrenner, the principal owner of the New York Yankees, good enough to join us here, and we will continue with more post-game. I see Big Mo, Mariano Rivera's in the studios now, and he'll be joining us in a matter of moments. Our thanks to the principal owner of Mr. Steinbrenner, who has been handed the champagne that he wanted from Mariano Rivera. And so now
I call him Ice.
Ice, well, that's what he's got in his veins.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mariano Rivera's here, and we'll get a chance to talk to him in a moment. How about the sight of Wade Boggs on the steed as he rounded the field during the celebration? That was quite interesting, and he was one of the first there to join this huge celebration on the field. And I don't remember in my baseball memory seeing a team en masse circle the field the way this Yankee team did. I mean, it was so great that the fans, look at Paul O'Neill, he doesn't care about his hamstrings now. That was great. And we are joined by Mariano Rivera. So your arm hurts now, or is it okay? We don't care, do we?
We don't care. It still hurts, but I mean, no matter.
Your 2 innings tonight were very, very good. I thought when you first came in, you got your first couple of pitches up a little bit, which you've been doing your last couple of outings, but then you got the ball down again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I walk that guy, I mean, I just step back in the mound and say, Mariano, I mean, you don't pitch like that. So, I mean, let's go get it. I mean, show the people who you are. I mean, you're one of the best guy from here, so let's go.
You smell of champagne and you deliver champagne to the owner of the team. I guess you want to raise next year.
Oh, yeah.
What was the most exciting thing that happened to you tonight?
I mean, the most exciting thing was when my team got those 3 runs. And then when I came in, and I got the 7th and the 8th inning. And when I see Wetland in there, battle and getting those 3 outs, those hard 3 outs, I mean, it was tremendous. It was, I mean,
You've been cool through all this. You've been very, very cool. George called you ice because of how cool you are. How about tonight?
I mean, I was like that too. I mean, I was tremendous. I was, I mean, cool. Like he
Really?
said. Oh yeah, I was cool. I mean,
Your stomach wasn't upside down?
No, I was so sad because I was the first guy. So I mean, let's go. I mean, you can't be like this. This is the World Series. This is the last game that we have to play. So let's go.
Who was the one who got the lap around the field started? Whose idea was that?
Well, I mean, I hear Jim Larry's. Then.
Oh, that's no surprise. That's no surprise.
I hear Jim Larry's, and he went to go around the field. I said, let's go. I mean, nothing wrong with that.
How are you going to celebrate?
Oh, big time. Big time in New York.
What are you going to do?
Everything.
Are you going to bed tonight?
No, we can't.
What's your greatest memory of the season? When you sit back and you slide this ring on your hand. You know, Mark Messier told me something when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup. He said, every time I look at the ring, another movie rolls. I see another little clip, another little highlight of the season. What are you going to see when you look at that ring?
Well, I mean, when I look at that ring, I mean, and I looking back when we was playing the Orioles, you know, and I got the bases loaded with no out in the, I think it was in the 8th or in the 7th. I don't remember right now, but I mean, got no out and the game was in the line. That was the big one.
That was big.
I mean, that was big because I mean, I got the next 2 guys out, strike out, and the next guy was pop up to shortstop. And
So if I was to ask you your shining moment of this great season, in which our fans voted you the MVP of the Yankees, would that be it? Bases loaded, nobody out, getting out of that jam?
Yep.
That was it.
I mean, yeah. Yep.
Now, as the Yankees are celebrating the clubhouses, did anyone say anything to you very special? Did anyone say anything that sticks in your head?
I mean, we've been through a lot of things, and everybody been saying a lot of things, good things, and positive things. And I mean, I can remember now. You know, it's been, I mean, the good things, and I mean, we've been through a lot of things, bad things and good things, and nobody, I mean, most of the people don't expect this. I mean, don't expect the Yankees to go all the way, and we did it.
Well, Mo, you're going to take up a lot of space on the highlight film. Thanks a lot for joining us, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mariano Rivera of the New York Yankees joining us here post-game to their clinching victory over the Atlanta Braves. They're the 1996 World Champions. And that victory lap there enjoyed by Jim Leyritz, Darryl Strawberry. The Yankees did a good thing. They had a chance to go around and salute the fans who were a big part of the noise and the celebration of this one. And they did celebrate and enjoy it. Let's go back now to Bob and Mike. Guys?
That's a really great scene, yeah. And I thought,
scene.
you know what else I thought was a great scene? The Wade Boggs thing. Now, you worked in Boston for a number of years, and you know Boggs better than any of us. I would think when he's standing up on the podium at Cooperstown in the future, going into the Hall of Fame with eventually his 3,000 hits, he'll look back at this as maybe the moment that completed his Hall of Fame career, because you hate to be like an Ernie Banks and go up there, you know, without having a World Series championship.
Because they'll always say that. They'll always say, well, he was a great player for 2 decades, yet he never won a World Championship. And I know it means a lot to Boggs, and he certainly, Bob, probably more than any other player, had to swallow his pride in this World Series because Joe Torre chose to sit him down against right-hand pitching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing when you're being sat down against left-hand pitching when you're a left-hand hitter. Paul O'Neill had to deal with that going back to last year with Buck Showalter and now this year with Joe Torre. But Torre showed tremendous guts when he had to make a move and play a hunch, especially when you play percentages, left-hand hitters against right-hand pitchers. He made the moves, sitting down Tino Martinez, no RBIs in the World Series, Paul O'Neill not hitting, Wade Boggs not hitting. He puts Hayes in, he puts Fielder in against right-hand pitching, and he wins the World Series. So Joe Torre, all those games of experience really came into play in this series.
We have our MVP of the World Series, Joe Torre, the Yankees manager. At least that's in the estimation of Michael and myself. The man who should be giving the MVP. He's sitting in our studios back at Yankee Stadium right now. Let's go once again to Al Trautwig, who is live with the Yankees manager.
All right, we're with Joe Torre here, and Bob Page, if you think he's the MVP, we'll agree with you because all the things that were done by you, just the demeanor of the team, they were tested so many times in the postseason. You know, the ability to not be too high, not be too low, something you stress a lot, and you have to feel very, very proud of the things that you did. If it was even just a subtle thing like that.
Well, Al, you know what the big thing is? They trusted me. And you don't find that too much, especially since the strike and the players and management and whatever. But they trusted me, and I really appreciated that. And and we won it for them. We were on their side all the way, and it was such a team effort. I can't say enough for every single member of our club. I mean, Andy Fox, Matt Howard, who's not here, but they all helped us win ball games. And the only way this club could have won was to get the contributions from everybody.
You talk about games in which you believe, and we were talking here, when was the first time we started using the word destiny? And Steve Hurd said, it was Andy Fox running down the line to first base to start the rally that with the down 8-0 and that whole thing. And so maybe even back then you start thinking of things, and you bring up an Andy Fox contribution like that. It's such a long season to go back and try to recap how far it's been.
Yeah, I said to Zim, this all started in February.
Right.
I don't believe this stuff. But what a satisfying finish to this thing. We went through that dry spell, and I felt the dry spell was going to make us a better club if we came out of it. But again, when we look back at our dry spell, Al, we played around 500. It's just that Baltimore played like crazy, and really cut the lead.
You had to make some tough decisions in this series, Joe, with guys I know you respect, the guys who got you to this point, the Tinos, the Wades. You had to make those really tough decisions. Which was the toughest one?
Well, anytime you're taking a Wade out of a game, this is a future Hall of Famer you're taking out of the game. Tino, who knocked in 117 runs, and you go and play in Atlanta, you can only have room for one first baseman. You have to make a gut call. And basically, that's what's made this club a good club, I believe. They realize that we're just interested in winning. We're not interested in people hanging up numbers or anybody's vanity. I mean, we're interested in winning, and they all went along with it. They didn't all like it, but they kept everything in-house. And
that shows their respect for you again.
Well, I like to believe that because I respect them as much as they respect me.
I told George when I watched the news last night and I heard that your brother finally got the heart, which was great in and of itself, but when I heard that the guy was from the Bronx, I looked at my wife and I said, that's it, I'm finished.
That finished the circle, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought if you want to talk about destiny and the baseball gods, that's all I needed to see as a final signal. Did you think of that at all?
I did think of that.
Did, right?
I said, all this stuff is falling into place. This is nuts. And George, just kiddingly, George walked in after we got our brains beat out in Game 1. He came in before Game 2, and he told me what a must game this was. And I was kidding with him, and I always liked to kid with him. I said, well, George, we're going to probably lose tonight. But
you told the story.
Yeah, but we're going to go to Atlanta and sweep 3 and then clinch it here next Saturday. Now he thinks I'm really smart. That was just guesswork.
Did you, deep down, I mean, you talk about believing and we never gave up and we had courage and all those things, but was there one night when you put your head on the pillow in the hotel or at home and said, I don't feel good about this. This is not looking good?
You talking postseason or season?
Postseason.
Postseason? Probably after the first game against Texas.
Right.
I didn't have a good feeling.
Small room for error.
The only, lose the first 2 games to Atlanta. The only thing that bothered me there, I guess I don't like to say I wouldn't mind. I don't mind losing the World Series, but I didn't want the fans to not see what the Yankees were all about, and they didn't see it in the first 2 games. And I think the 8-day layoff was really a big contributor to us playing so sluggish in the first 2 games.
We had so much fun watching you and Zimmer and his facial expressions and your comments about what went on. And I love asking this question, and I asked it of Mariano Rivera. When you look at the ring, memories, pop into your head. What kind of things are you going to be thinking about? What little movies will you see when you look at the ring?
Well, I'm going to see Zimmer's reflection because he was next to me.
Those eyes bugging out.
And he
Can you do a Zimmer face? Can you do it?
He took 2 aspirin, and I said, you have a headache? He says, leave me alone, he said to me. And before the game, I said to him, Zim, how about playing golf tomorrow at 2 o'clock? And he says, that is a pretty good idea.
At 2 o'clock?
Tomorrow afternoon. I mentioned it before the game. We're all trying to think positive and be positive, and I was nervous as a cat today. I was really jumpy, and I was yelling at him when I came in. I was snapping at everybody today.
So after all these years of having not tasted the champagne, the ultimate champagne, what is it finally like?
Boy, I'm exhausted, but it's a dream that is much better than I ever thought it could have been.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. Joe Torre, the classy man who has guided the New York Yankees to their first World Championship in 18 years. The Bronx is going a little crazy tonight, and New York City, I am sure, is following suit. As we continue postgame on this Tri-State BMW postgame report, we'll be hearing more from the locker room. Michael Kay still to come along, and we'll certainly be hearing from more of the excited Yankees as Joe Torre tastes the bubbly.
The New York Yankees are the world champions in 1996, the first time in 18 years. Kenny Rogers, Jeff Nelson handling the trophy, and it is gorgeous. The Yankees surrounding it in the locker room, bedlam in the locker room, bedlam outside the locker room. And again, we hope that the celebrations will be peaceful around New York. And I can't wait for the ticker tape parade. Can you?
It's going to be very interesting, to see that bittersweet moment for Kenny Rogers too. There, I mean, I know that he feels that he let himself down, he let the team down, and I think maybe you'll see Kenny have some surgery on that arm and shoulder. I mean, this guy has been a fine pitcher over the last number of years, and he just cannot be the Kenny Rogers that we saw this season in the postseason.
And he's a good person too.
Yeah.
Although Rogers failed miserably in the playoffs and in the World Series, I hope that George Steinbrenner does not take it out on him, and I hope they get a chance to get him straightened out physically and he can contribute to this team because he is a quality pitcher.
I think we got a post-game show record here. We got like 8 pages worth of highlights here to do tonight.
Well,
so,
let's see him. I've been waiting to see these things.
Let's go back to it then, and we'll take a look for the first time as you do at the highlights of the New York Yankees. What's wrong with these people? What are they, idiots? The World Series is going on next door. Are you playing handball? You believe this?
The game never stops.
Yeah, inside, there's a pretty big game for Joe Torre and the Yankees here. First inning, Jimmy Key on the mound for the Yanks. Marquise Grissom at the plate. He picks on a fastball, lines one to left field. Here comes Darryl Strawberry, and he had to impress you with his defensive play during the World Series. Bad toe and all. Greg Maddux on the mound, perhaps the best pitcher in baseball today. Bottom of the second, he strikes out. Tino Martinez looking. Bobby Cox and the Atlanta Braves would saw the Yankees score all the runs in the third. First hitter, Paul O'Neill, doubles down into the right field corner. After Mariano Duncan's ground ball and an 0-2 pitch moved O'Neill to third with 1 out, Joe Girardi with a long drive. Is Grissom playing him in too close? Bernie Williams makes catches like this. Marquise doesn't. And Joe hustles into third, a much better slide than last time going into third, remember? 1-0 Yankees on top. Derek Jeter at the plate. Next hitter. Looked like a cut fastball or a slider. A rope into center field for a base hit. 2-0 Yankees. Bobby Cox and pitching coach Leo Mazzoni then looked on as after Jeter stole second with 2 out, Bernie Williams gets a base hit to center. Jeter comes home. Grissom's throw is wild. Bernie to second. 3-0. The Yankees had all the runs they would need. Mariano then had to leave the game. He injured himself between innings, replaced by Luis Sojo. Here's Andrew Jones at bat. Top of the fourth, 1 out, 2 on. Fly ball to right. A little soft liner. O'Neill can't make the play, and the bases are loaded. The next hitter, Jermaine Dye, draws a walk-off Key, forcing in a run. It is 3-1 for New York. Torre and Mel Stottlemyre then saw one of the big plays of the entire World Series. Ground ball off the bat of Pendleton, bases still loaded. Jeter steps on second, over to first. End of the inning, end of the rally. To the top of the fifth, 1 out. Grissom with a base hit up the middle. On the next batter, you'll see the ball get away from Joe Girardi. Grissom takes off, Girardi throws him out, and you will see on the replay that Terry Tata, the Connecticut native who makes the call at second base, simply blows it. This is unusual because Terry's one of the best umpires in the National League and has been around a long, long time. You can see the replay. Clearly, he slid in safely. Cox would argue, and then Tim Welke at third base would eject him. You can only imagine what Cox said to Welke as he was going past him. Had such problems with Welke in a couple of previous games. 1 on, 1 out. The top of the sixth, Key lifted for David Weathers. He gets Lopez to strike out on that horrible pitch. Now 2 on and 2 out. Graham Lloyd in, gets Klesko to pop out. What an airhead bit of hitting. 2-0 count. He had to make the left-hander throw a strike, but instead he swings at the pitch, and Bob Watson was delighted that he did. To the 8th inning, Mariano Rivera in. He pitched a beautiful 7th and 8th, hitless in fact, blowing away Lopez to end the inning there. And then John Wetland comes on, and it's virtually always adventurous with John Wetland, isn't it? Andrew Jones strikes out on a 3-2 pitch for out number 1 in the 9th inning. 2 outs to go. After 2 straight singles, Polonia fans, 1 out to go. Marquise Grissom at the plate. Fastball goes the opposite way, a base hit to right, a run comes home. 3-2 Yankees, and wouldn't you know it, Utica native Mark Lemke at the plate lifts a pop fly over by the dugout. Charlie Hayes not allowed. They could have called interference here, and can you believe Tim Welke would have made the call? You think the Braves would have liked that? But on the next pitch, Lemke fouls it over here again. Charlie Hayes makes the play. 3-2, 2 outs, 9th inning, runners running, 1-run game, and the New York Yankees win the 1996 World Series championship. 3 utterly remarkable ball games. And you know what I thought of? If you want to go back in Yankee lore, you remember reading the stories about when Allie Reynolds pitched a no-hitter, and the last out he had to get was Ted Williams, and Ted Williams lifted a foul fly ball behind home plate, and Yogi Berra dropped it.
Right.
And the next pitch, Williams hit a foul fly ball to the same spot behind home plate, and that time Yogi caught it, and Allie Reynolds had his no-hitter. And I thought the same thing here tonight with Mark Lemke and the 2 foul pop-ups to virtually the same spot.
Can we see those highlights? At least the last out again?
I don't have the Allie Reynolds no-hitter.
Man, was that fun.
Oh, these highlights, you mean?
Oh, man, was that fun. We have Joe Girardi standing by with Al Trautwig, and I was one of the people, and I think you might have been too, that said, what? Let Mike Stanley go? Who's Joe Girardi? Well, we learned throughout the course of the season, this guy is a tremendous catcher, a clutch performer.
I still feel bad for Stanley that he wasn't part of this, but Girardi did a
for
great
Bob
job.
Wickman and Gerald Williams and others. But
yeah.
Joe Girardi standing by now with Al Trautwig. Congratulations, Joe, and thanks for the memories.
He's a pretty happy guy, but he's just damp. He's not really soaked. What's going on with the celebration? Who's in charge of the champagne?
Well, I went in there and got my T-shirt and my hat, and I wanted to go get my wife because she's been there all along, and she helped me through some of the toughest times in my baseball career when I got traded over here, and when I sat in the room and beat up a pillow after I got booed out of FanFest.
Right.
She was there for me and just told me that the good Lord has brought you here for a reason. Be a man and do your job.
And you did your job tonight. You want to see what New York is doing in response to this?
Yes,
I understand we can take a look at Times Square and see how New York City is responding to the 1996 World Champion Yankees. It looks like New Year's Eve out there. Look at that, wall to wall in Midtown Manhattan.
That's unbelievable.
We just hope everybody's safe and behaves themselves, just like the fans of the Rangers did. But boy, I wanted to see how big the celebration would get and how quickly word would spread, and obviously that's all happened pretty quickly. You were a huge contributor in Atlanta with your arm, and tonight with your arm again, and your bat too. That was some shot you hit to center field, Mr. Power Slugger, you.
Yeah, that's probably the farthest ball I hit all year. My homers just scraped the back of the wall, and it's probably farther. But I just want to thank Gary Tuck, because Gary Tuck was our catching instructor, and we saw him in spring training, work with me every day. I didn't see him the whole year, and I requested that he would get here. Joe Torre got him here, and I said to Tuck, I said, you can even make a catcher out of a 32-year-old. And I just want to thank him. He put in his time here. He's been away from his wife and child, and he's just a wonderful man.
Was there a time you wished that you weren't here?
Oh, I was scared to death, and that's where your faith comes in. I knew Jesus put me here for a reason, but it was hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was hard. FanFest was hard, but just the things that have transpired: a no-hitter, win our division, win the first round, the second round, win the World Series, and the friends that I made here, and the relationships with guys like Wet and Pet, something I'll never forget.
Where are you on a destiny thing? Where all these weird things start happening. Todd Zeile throws the ball into the ground. Jeff Mayer reaches over and creates a home run. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's been a lot of that stuff.
I believe God has a plan for everything, and during this, I just prayed whatever would happen that I would be able to accept it. And it's been an unbelievable ride. And you look at the people that you're happy for, and I'm probably most happy for Joe Torre. And getting to the World Series is great, but what a story that he can give his ring back to his brother.
It's unbelievable. The one that his brother won in the 50s and lost and had stolen.
And I just hope Frank's feeling well and he didn't get too excited.
Well, the doctor even said he's better off watching Game 6 with the heart he's got now than the one he had before.
Yeah, he got a 28-year-old heart. He should be all right.
I guess I shouldn't have been shocked, but to see Greg Maddux get hit the way you guys hit him for the 3 runs so early surprised me. Your triple, I have all due respect for you as a hitter. It surprised me. Can you take us back to the scenario, what it felt, and what you thought about going up against Maddux and where you got the confidence to come up with this?
Well, I knew Maddux was probably going to throw me a fastball away. I didn't know he'd throw me a high one, but in most of those situations, a lot of times this year, Joe was giving me the safety squeeze, and that's what I thought I was going to get.
Uh-oh.
But you know me, I'm a first pitch hacker, and he just got a pitch up.
Nice slide, by the way,
yeah,
in contrast to some other ones that we've seen.
I didn't really get caught in between, and it all goes back to my rookie year, listening to Zim tell the story about running the bases. And when you hit the ball, you got to think triple right when you hit it over the center fielder's head, and that's what he did.
Joe, you're such a thoughtful guy. We've felt that all season long, and talking to you about a game is a lot different than talking to a lot of other players about a game. Give me a quick synopsis of some of the things that were said by you and to you in the locker room and those private moments where you look in one of your teammates' eyes and say something.
Well, I think I talked to John earlier today, and
John Wetland?
Yeah, And I talk to him all year. He keeps me in check.
He's a bit of a strange guy to stay in check with now.
That man's heart is right. I mean, that man is right on. And, you know, he may have some crazy habits, but I said to John, I walked by him, I said, I'm nervous. I'm nervous today as I walk by him in the outfield. We always stand out there and talk. And he said, trust in God, trust in God. And he said, don't be afraid to have a blowout tonight. I said, no. I said, I want you on the mound when we win this. I want you on the mound. And he just like, oh. And he did it again. I mean, he's been unbelievable all year, and I just love that man.
But he did this the save thing tonight the way he's done a lot all season long. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Zantax. I mean, they sent him a box of Zantax, and I should start taking them when I catch him.
All right, well, I think John Wetland's making his way into the studio.
Yeah, there's my buddy.
Yeah, he's right here. As if he could hear you. And he's finally, I thought you had champagne. And he's coming in with water, John. Now, come on in.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, John.
Hi, buddy.
This man, I want you to know, I know George probably won't like to hear this, but this man corrupted my wife. My wife now wants a Harley Davidson. My wife wants a Harley. I'm scared to death.
Really good there.
It's all right. At least Joe doesn't, right? At least Joe doesn't.
Did you have to do the ninth inning the way you've done so many other innings? You couldn't get a 1, 2, 3.
Of course, no. You know, we tried. We tried. And Joe, you know, he gave me a fastball to throw to Terry, and I shook and wanted a curveball, and I paid for it. And that's what I get for not listening to a man like Joe Girardi.
All right, we've only just begun with John Wetland. We're going to make the switch.
Yeah,
get
let
the
me out of
microphones
here.
in place, get Joe back with his family. Let's go back to Mike and Bob in Manhattan for just a moment, and we'll get things squared away here. Guys?
Yeah, Crispino was screaming about that in the studio. What on earth did he throw that curveball?
So he just said Girardi didn't call the pitch.
Yeah, because I said, well, look, you got to blame Girardi, because Girardi obviously is calling the pitch, and Crispino says, no, I'm sure he shook him off. I don't know how often he shakes off a guy like Joe Girardi. But you saw Polonia the other night, you know, with the 6 foul balls and then the line drive to right center to O'Neill to end the ball game. Other than that pitch, he did not seem to be able to get around on the fastball. He seemed overmatched. And of those 6 foul balls, most of them were out of the strike zone. Anytime Wetland delivered a fastball out of the strike zone, Polonia went for it tonight. And so we thought to ourselves, why on earth isn't he going with the heat? Well, we'll find out from John himself.
All right.
So,
We of course, we were thinking about Mark Wohlers, who threw that hanging slider to Jim Leyritz to turn the whole series around. So we didn't want John Wetland to make any mistakes tonight, and he did not, except for a couple, to get the game to a 3-2 final. Al Trautwig standing by. We go back to the World Series MVP, John Wetland. Al?
There's a lot of symbolism in the fact that John Wetland is celebrating with water and not bubbly, but of course all the sacrifices, the things that have happened along the way, they all seem to come to a point here for you. I mean, what's going through your mind as you sit as a world champion must be amazing.
It is. I mean, from so many different angles. You know, I'm thinking about when I was 6, you know, and starting to throw a baseball with my brother Mitch and playing catch with him, and he and I talking about being in the World Series and being battery mates in the World Series. He was a catcher, and dreaming about this day. And it's something that you kind of carry with you throughout your career as well. And, you know, you think you know what it's going to feel like, and it doesn't even come close. You know, the feeling is tremendous.
Did you ever allow yourself to think that you could have been the MVP of this series?
No, I had no idea. And when they grabbed me for it, I said, "You're right." You know, and they said, "No, we're not kidding." And I was overcome really because you know, I just want to make one thing clear about that trophy is that, you know, every time that I look at it, I wouldn't find the field in the 9th inning if it wasn't for hard work and perseverance and preparation that my teammates went through all year and in the postseason as well. And every time I see that trophy, I remember all of them fondly.
I'm counting on you because I think you're the man who can do it. If you can put us in your head, gather up all the thoughts on the mound, final out, the noise, the police are ringing the field. Maybe you even saw the horses were getting ready. I mean, I can't imagine all the things that are going through your mind as it happens. But we're going to take a look at the last out, so let us know what you were thinking as it happened.
Oh my goodness. Well, I threw the pitch exactly what I wanted to throw. Something down and away. He didn't seem to be getting good swings at it. And I bent down and thanked my point man, Jesus Christ, and went out and hugged Joe, you know, and Joe just, you know, showed tremendous confidence in me all year. And
now, aren't you getting crushed? Aren't you getting crushed?
I'm getting hammered because, you know, right now, I'm down at the bottom of the pile.
I know.
I'm down at the bottom of the pile. and I'm screaming. First of all, I'm elated, and guys are and it feels good, you know, when guys are just piling on you, and yeah, that's right, and you're screaming away, and then all of a sudden that turned to, oh my goodness, my ankle's killing me, and it was bent. You know, my leg was over a body, and guys were piling on, and I was screaming, "Get off!" I thought one more guy and it was going to bust. I mean, it was really that intense.
Well, you'll probably see the shot of Paul O'Neill doing the full somersault over the top of the pile and falling off the backside. It looked like his hamstrings were fine, by the way. I don't know.
You lose all concept of pain in that moment. But
what does it mean, John, to be a closer? You know, sort of a weird role anyway. You get up and just pitch one inning, and a lot of people talk about it. And now, for the first time in 22 years, since '74 in Raleigh Fingers, that a man who does what you do for a living is recognized as the most valuable performer in a World Series.
What does it
mean? That's your job. It's a job that often goes overlooked in a situation like this. Normally it's a hitter or a starting pitcher who wins a couple of games.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, I really didn't feel like, you know, I was really deserving of it. And I told my wife that. I told that person I didn't feel like I was deserving of it at all. And you know, it came to me as a real shock.
Now, of course,
I just go about what I do, and I don't really think about anything else. To tell you what, you know, the ring that we all share and we share with this city is much more important to me.
Hey, you should see Times Square. We just showed pictures of it. It is wall to wall. I mean, it is amazing. Now, your cap, while we've recognized it on MSG for a couple of years now with the salt stains, and, you know, almost all the pitchers do it. Yours is just the grimiest of the bunch.
It's gross.
What happens to it now?
Well, there was a person that I was going to give it to, and now, you know, now the Hall of Fame wants it.
Seriously?
I don't know. I guess.
Because Jeff Idelson, who's with the Hall of Fame, used to be a PR guy from the Yankees, is here. Did they approach you officially about getting it?
I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out. I have no idea.
Can you imagine the humidifying and the air conditioning that have to go in to prevent this cap from degenerating?
Well, there's some mold spores starting anyway. You know, why not let it go the whole 9 yards?
All right, I've asked most everyone who's been here, so I'll ask you. When you look at the ring, what little highlight of the season will roll? What little video in your brain will click when you look at that ring?
Game 4. Game 4 is where. Well, I mean, there's a ton of them throughout the year.
Game 4 this in the series.
Yeah, and there's a ton of them throughout the year because that's the kind of. You know, I don't know if it'll be a moment so much as it is maybe that Chicago game down 8-0. You know. I mean, that showed us an awful lot of what we could do.
Again, that's that Andy Fox game. It's amazing how that comes up.
Yeah, you know, and you know, he's that kind of a player. You know, he's that kind of a player, and it just typifies what this team is about. And I'm just so thankful that everybody, to a man, feels that way about playing baseball.
You know, the other night when Mark Wohlers went to a breaking ball to Jimmy Leyritz, he had to answer a lot of questions. I mean, your fastball's your thing, man. Why are you switching off? And tonight, that happens again with you, and it comes up as a conversation. And do you think about Wohlers going off of his game plan in that instance for a blink or not?
With Pendleton,
yeah,
you mean?
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to do is I faced Terry a lot in my career over in the National League, and you know, I got him out with the curveball as much as I did my fastball. And in fact, probably he hit me too. You know, I mean, he hit me, and those were almost always fastballs. But he's a good high fastball hitter, and I wanted to show him at least one. I wasn't looking for it to get out on that pitch. I wanted to show it to him so maybe it could make the high fastball good. And you know, I hung it up there for him, I guess. I'm trying to replay it in my mind.
Don't. That's a bad replay. Stick with the good replays.
Okay, all right.
John, thanks a lot for this long visit, and congratulations. It's really, really special
Thank
for you.
you.
I know how happy you must be. John Wetland, the MVP of the 1996 World Series. In 1986, Wade Boggs cried because, not that the Red Sox lost, but that his mother had died just before the World Series. Tonight, they are tears of joy in the Yankee clubhouse. Michael Kay is alongside, too.
After 86, did you think that
I had confidence, and I always said that good. Well, my dad kept telling me after 86, he said, good things come to those who wait. And my God, I've waited for 10 years and finally got this moment. And the good thing about it is that ticker tape parade down Fifth Avenue is just going to be the sweetest thing, because now I know how Neil Armstrong felt when he walked on the moon. Because I just got back from the moon, and This is unbelievable.
Wait, what do you think it means to baseball in general to have the New York Yankees win the World Series? What will it do for the game?
Well, I think it's brought New York back and put them on the map. That it was a drought that they had, and this is a class organization and a winning organization for so many years that little drought has finally been put to rest. The Hurricanes finally gone through in 1996.
Wait, did you think about your mom before you thought of anything else?
That was the first thing I thought. When that ball went up, I was thinking about her tonight. I said, Mom, this is for you, sweetheart. And I ran out to that mound, and I looked up. I looked right in her eyes, and I said, oh, thank you. I said, you've been with us all year now. Now you're finally there. And she looked down on me and smiled. It was the greatest feeling in the world to have her with me.
Culmination of a great career for Wade Boggs, and the culmination of a lot of great efforts as this franchise really came from the ashes in the early 90s. You mentioned 94, a chance, and then the strike, and Buck Showalter restoring pride in just Yankee baseball. If you recall back in 1990, 91 under Stump Merrill, the Yankees were a laughingstock in the American League and around Major League Baseball. So credit not only to Buck Showalter, also to Gene Michael, to Wade Boggs, and everybody whose efforts went into winning this championship. And I know Boggs emotionally, as you just saw there, broke down after,
and I think people
after the
are aware,
tragedy of 1986 right here in New York.
And I think you certainly were, and most people were aware of just how tragic his mother's death was. She was killed by some moron who was drunk. And it was just a terrible, terrible drunk driving accident. And it just, well, this was just so emotional tonight watching Wade Boggs. Very, 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 very moving.
We have more from the locker room?
Yeah,
Yes?
Paul O'Neill this time, I think, with Michael just a little bit earlier.
Obviously, you've won a World Series before, but give it up, Nick. Give it up. How sweet is it?
It's unbelievable. Things don't happen like they do in New York. We fought all year. I mean, we've had some players go through ins and outs all year. It doesn't matter now. We won. They can't take it away from us now.
What about the way you guys did it, coming back down 2 games?
Well, I think it just typifies what we've done all year. I mean, we had times where we could give up and we didn't. And we won this game the way we've won games all year. Go to the 6th inning, give it to Mariano, bring Wetland in, get it close, and go home winning.
You had a tough pitcher to get to, and you got even with them.
Unbelievable. Maddox's a great pitcher. Smolt's a great pitcher. Glavine, they're a great team. It's just, we got some breaks when we need them, and it's unbelievable.
Second time around for you. Just give us an idea.
I'm so excited right now. I can't think of 1990. This is 96, and we won a world championship in New York. And that's unbelievable. Oh, my God.
Turn around.
Are you surprised it took them 4 straight? No, I'm not surprised. Because this team's got a lot of heart, and we believed in ourselves. And when you believe in yourself, you got a chance of winning.
Enjoy it, Darryl.
All right, thank you.
Darryl, you said after game 2 that you weren't going to lose any sleep over this, but you said, hey, you knew what you were going to have to do to go on the road, win some games, and you're here now. How does it feel?
It feels great. We had to do what we had to do as far as a team. We had to pull together, and I think everybody realized that when we were down 0-2, and we pulled together, and we believed in what we can do, and it all worked out well for us.
How so much leader is it for you now, 10 years later, older, mature? You've been through so much in career.
It's much sweeter. I can appreciate this more than anything, to be able to win another championship in New York.
Darryl, your thoughts right now, is it kind of just, I did it, or I told you so, or a combination of everything?
Well, I think it's just a combination of everything. I think it's a combination of the players believing in themselves and not doubting that we can win and never giving up. Going down 0-2 and just being able to pick ourselves back up. I think we all appreciate that. I think that's the most joy that we all get out of it because we didn't give up.
After all the problems you had, would you say this is the best kind of alcohol to be celebrating with when it's on your head?
It's the best kind. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not really nervous about anything. I feel good about it because I've celebrated a couple times, so this is a good celebration here.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Darryl, take me.
Well, the intuition of Joe Torre to play Darryl Strawberry, where Strawberry sat in last year's playoffs. I mean, Joe stuck him in situations against left-handed hitters. He played left field. He played right field. All the discussion about Strawberry when the Yankees first signed him. As a DH, he can't play the outfield anymore. He's 34 years old.
And you know what I think of? I think of really how Strawberry would have been within his rights to go elsewhere. After what happened with the Yankees last year, clearly he was a major league player, deserved to come back, and the Yankees did not bring him back. How close did he come to signing with the Baltimore Orioles this year, and what would have happened had he signed with the Orioles? By the way, that was our producer again, Anthony Facilli, who was just doing a great job in the locker rooms tonight. I don't know if it's Bill Tynan or Ellie Nagler on camera. I want to know, and I want a full accounting. It's 12:15 of where Michael Kay has been tonight. Oh yeah, we've heard from him one time. He's probably in a corner someplace, doused with champagne and drinking himself into a stupor. He's supposed to be working for us, and when Kay gets on camera, he's going to be accountable to us.
I understand he's with John Sterling in a back room somewhere, popping some bubbly.
All right, Al Trautwig is going to have Jim Leyritz live again from our studios, and we come back with Let's Pause again for this time out here on MSG.
We're back on the network of the world champions, the New York Yankees. This, the special edition of the Tri-State BMW Yankees post-game report. The Yankees have won the world championship and the series, and Jim Leyritz is one of the big reasons why. If you look at big swings, there can't be any one bigger than the one that he hit in the series in Atlanta to bring the Yankees back all the way to tie the game at 6 and then go on and win. You played in that game. You catch Andy Pettitte. Now you're on the step of the dugout watching this one. And this was a real nerve-wracking, tension-filled game right to the last out.
Yeah, I was more nervous today watching this one than I was catching the other night when it was 1-0 with a man on third. You know, like I said, it's tough when you can't be out there in control.
It did not look real good there in the 9th inning, did it?
No, but then again, John's done that to us all year, and we felt pretty relaxed. We felt that if he could get the first guy out for the second out, that we had a pretty good chance, and he did a great job.
We talked a little bit about this in the post game in Atlanta with you. The fact that you're the Yankee of longest tenure now, and you were here when the team was not good at all, and now you're here when the team is the best of them all.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. I mean, 90, 91, 92, we were just fighting to finish not last. Now, the last 2 years, 3 years, this team's developed. Joe came in and did a great job with this ball club, kept us together. Not one superstar in the whole team. Everybody contributed 1 through 25, and we just did a tremendous job.
How did you beat Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox? How did that happen?
It was just a matter, I think, those first 2 games we hadn't played that much, and now being able to get our timing back and everything else, we just went out there and we played the type of ball we played all year, and I think we proved that we were probably the better team.
Jimmy, you're not one of these $5 million a year guys. What does winning a world championship do to you? How does this change your life? The big World Series share, I mean, it's going to impact your life, that amount of money, I would think?
Well, yeah, it's nice, and my wife and I just had our second baby, actually, and we need a little bigger house now. We have a townhouse that's not quite big enough for 4 people. So we're probably going to start looking for a place in Tampa to live, and it's nice to have. It's nice to be able to do that, and like I said, to be able to celebrate as world champions, it's a great feeling.
And so many good things have happened to the Yankees along the season. We've got a little special delivery here. Let's get this
I haven't held this yet.
Let's get it on. See, now Michael Kay has been ripped by Bob Page and Mike Crispino. They say he's been doing nothing. He's been
stealing the trophy.
He's been getting the trophy, which is soaked with champagne. We were just talking about, the Stump Merrill days. I mean, when you think about when you think about some of those post games we had to do, this is a little different. But I did want to get this story across, how many good things have happened to the team. Frank Torre, the Hart, and that. You brought in those 2 homeless kids late in the season who were looking for a family desperately. They wanted to stay together. It really didn't look good. And what was it, just a few days ago, they found a mom and a dad?
Yeah, actually, right after they hit the home run, the next morning, there was a phone call from Susan Forrest from the Post. And
next morning?
The next morning, and she said, the boys are really happy about their home run, but guess what? They're in an adoptive home right now. Mm-hmm. And to hear that, and I got excited on the phone. My wife said, I think he's more excited about that than he was the home run. Mm-hmm. Like I said, and then to be able to do with Joe's brother getting the heart, and everything, just like I said, it was a storybook ending for us.
Mike, as long as you're here, maybe you could recreate the radio call of Jim Leyritz's home run. This is going back to Atlanta now. Yankees were down 6-0. They needed the biggest comeback in their postseason history, and they got it when Jim Leyritz delivered this pitch over the wall. Mark Wohlers. Go, Mike.
Here's the pitch by Wohlers. Swung on, drilled deep to left field. Jones going back, still back. He's on the track, at the wall. He leaps. It's gone. A home run for Jim Leyritz.
No, see ya?
It was John Sterling's call.
It was high. It was far.
It was not. It wasn't that far. Far enough.
How many times have you seen that home run now? That
Actually, just a couple. I really didn't want to watch it that much because I wanted to be able to win this whole thing and then enjoy it. Last year, I watched that Seattle thing too many times before we ended up losing 3. This time, I was a little superstitious about watching it. Actually, I watched the Letterman thing a couple more times than I actually watched the home run. But like I said, now I can sit back and really enjoy it.
Now, you've been coming here for years. We've talked about that. You go up to the Yankee offices, you come off the elevator, this trophy's sitting there, and then it's 15 years, it's 16 years, it's 17 years, 18 years. Now it's on your lap.
You know what? I had the Stanley Cup under my lap when the Rangers won, and it didn't feel like this.
Wayne Gretzky was here tonight. I think you could get a couple of tickets for the next game if you want to.
I'm going to be there tomorrow night, and I'll be there definitely for the Panther game.
Mike, what's the most significant thing about Jim Leyritz coming up with a home run like that, being the longest Yankee, the home run in Baltimore, the home run last year? What strikes you about it?
It's kind of closure if you think about it, because the real bad years he was here for the Stunt Merrill years, and then the pinnacle of what's happened, he really brought it here with that home run. I don't know if this game plays out the way it played out unless they come back from that 6-0 deficit. So it seemed almost poetic justice.
By the way, the locker room is like a cigar store. There's a lot of cigar smoking going on. Wade Boggs' wife has a huge one, and when you walk on the floor, it's like I mean, this all the champagne has been used up. It was fun, right?
Yeah, it was. Like I said, it was a blast. It's time to really sit back and enjoy it, and I think we're ready to go out into town and enjoy it with the rest of New York.
Describe for me the running around the field, the faces of the people you saw, things that were yelled out, things you thought of. I mean, that was a beautiful victory lap. I don't remember ever seeing a baseball team do anything like that. What was it like?
Joe came out to the mound after we all celebrated a little bit and said, "Hey, let's take a lap around. Let's enjoy this." And we started getting some
So
guys
it wasn't
together.
your idea?
No, it wasn't my idea. I was trying to get everybody together. He came up to me because he knows how I am. He said,
he knew that if he told you, you'd get everybody
these guys
going.
together and let's go. And so I got everybody together as soon as we could. We started the victory lap, and like I said, Daryl and I were leading it and just telling everybody, come on, get up and enjoy this moment because. And like I said, I want to credit the fans for staying off the field because that gave us a chance to enjoy the moment with them. And like I said, you got to tip their hat. They get a lot of flack about being rude and obnoxious and everything else. They stayed in the stands for us, and we really enjoyed it.
Tino Martinez actually said that if he had the chance, and if the team had the chance, they really wanted to go up and shake everybody's hand because they felt that the fans had as much to do with this as anybody. And one other team I remember doing it, the '91 Minnesota Twins, and it was a real special moment then. And this was great. It really was. I've never seen anything like that in New York.
All right, Mike's sticking around. The trophy's not. That's going with Jim Leyritz. We understand we're going to hear from Jimmy Key as we continue on the Tri-State BMW post-game report for the 1996 World Champions of Baseball, the New York Yankees. We'll be back in a moment.
All righty.
Thanks, Jimmy.
So, as Mariano Rivera said, what are you going to do tonight? When asked what are you going to do tonight, he said everything. So look out, New York.
And I love the comment of, I think Leyritz always asked him, I think off camera, where are you going to go? And Leyritz said, well, we've got to find a place that's open for us, fellas.
Till tomorrow night.
New York is open tonight, fellas. You call any place you want, doesn't matter where it is, and they'll stay open for you, and they'll be delighted to have you.
Just let us know where you're going to be, right?
All right, now we're going to talk to one of the guys who made this World Series championship possible. He did not have a great World Series, but where would the New York Yankees have been without the tremendous play of Bernie Williams?
Bernie, you've been through a lot of bad times here. Is this all make it worthwhile?
Oh yeah. You kidding? Definitely. It's just one of those feelings, man. You work so hard, 162 games, plus times 3 or 4 years, and it's certainly worthwhile.
Talk about that third inning when you guys, or the fourth inning when you guys finally got to Maddox. It was the third inning.
Yeah, it was his third inning. He just kept a couple of pitches up in the strike zone, and he's the kind of pitcher that we cannot give him any chances. And we were just very good tonight, and we were very able to capitalize on his mistakes and score, those runs, and they seemed to be the key to the game.
How about your bullpen? You've got to be awful proud of them.
Oh yeah. They have been so important in this series. I mean, the most important factor in our club has been the bullpen and our depth.
You kids dream of this moment. Is it anything like the dream when you were a kid growing up in Puerto Rico?
Well, I'm just taking it all in right now, and I know at some point in the offseason I'm going to just sit back and think, and then I'm just going to say, wow, this is great. But right now I'm just enjoying the moment. Throughout the playoffs.
Just one of the great Yankee kids that made this World Championship possible, Mariano Rivera, Derek Jeter. Who would have thunk this guy in spring training would be Rookie of the Year? Bernie Williams, they gave him that money in the arbitration hearing, And Bernie Williams helps lead them to this point in time. And Ruben Rivera in the future, and Andy Pettitte, of course, in the 1-0 victory.
Yeah. Al Trautwig is once again standing by back at Yankee Stadium. He has one of the heroes, the New York Yankees World Series victory. He's with Yankees pitcher Jimmy Key.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. This is Karen Kane, soon to be Karen Key, I assume, if you're going to make the name switch, because Jimmy Key picked today, of all days, I don't know what's going on here, to get engaged prior to this Game 6 game. Jim, what was the thinking there exactly?
Well, we're just looking for a little lucky charm, and we just felt like it was the day. You know, coming into the day, you know, I was a little uptight about it, but you know, this took a little pressure off the situation, and you know, we're just happy about it, and we're happy that we were able to pull this off tonight.
Well, you know, Karen, guys, they try to come up with all sorts of ways to surprise the woman. You know, usually they think they're going to be asked, and so if there's a special dinner or something, you had to be shocked that today was the day, right?
Not really, because we talked about it. Actually, I mean, I was surprised that this afternoon was going to be the time, but I knew that it would happen soon, not necessarily before he pitches.
So you said yes right away?
Yeah. I said, well, if you don't win,
then I'll think about it.
Yeah, no, actually, I said yes.
Well, congratulations, both of you. Let's talk about tonight. With the relief, having gotten engaged earlier in the day, you could go out and pitch with a clear mind. I thought one of the things that had to be troubling to you early was that you weren't getting the strike calls on the outside corner.
Well, in fairness to the umpire, I was missing a little bit, and you know, I was trying to stretch him out as far as I could stretch him out, and you know, he just wasn't going out there, and I couldn't move it over far enough in a couple instances to where I wanted to, and it was similar to Game 2, where I just wasn't happy with the way I was throwing, and I struggled tonight, no question about it, but I made enough good pitches and stayed out of a big inning, and made the pitch on Terry and got us out of that one inning.
Jimmy, how do you keep your cool when you so desperately want to give the team your best stuff, your best control, do everything, and you're out there and you know you don't have it? What do you do?
I don't know. You just dig down and try to say you're better than those guys. And, you know, I just kept telling myself, just get through another inning, get through another inning. And I knew if we could get to the 7th, we got Mo and Wetland out there waiting. And, you know, I just kind of willed it the last few innings and made, like I said, made enough good pitches. I didn't have it, no question about it, but I made enough good pitches to get through it.
I almost hate to ask the question because comparing championships is a tough thing to do, but I have to figure that in a year where you didn't even know if you were going to be in baseball with the shoulder, this has got to make this one a little bit more special.
This is definitely more special, coming through what I came through, not knowing if I'd ever pitch again. Signing on with New York 4 years ago, hoping that this moment would happen. This is what I had my eyes on coming to New York, and you know, last year I couldn't be a part of a great team.
I remember that day listening to you talk in the locker room saying, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to have this surgery. This just may be it.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, it was a 50-50 at best proposition of whether I'd throw again. And a great surgeon, James Andrews in Birmingham, gave me the shot. And, you know, I put the hours in the rehab last year and this past winter, and it just all worked out.
Jimmy, you were with, as I said, a championship team in Toronto, a championship team here, two teams very, very different. Can you put into words the special things that set this team apart?
Well, I think every team is definitely special. You know, the team, we were trying to win something for a country in Toronto in '92. We had the whole country behind us, so we had a lot of pressure on us then. But you know, here in New York, you know, there hasn't been a winner here for a long time, and this team, George put this team together to win this past off season and spring training, and kept bringing in guys when we needed help. And you know, the credit goes to George and to do what he has to do to give us a chance to win. But also the credit goes to the players to not succumb to the pressure in New York, stay together, go through tough times. Joe stayed with some guys, and you know, we just able to pull it off.
So Karen, we've been following Jimmy now for years. He's a pretty cool cat. You know, he doesn't really let you know how he's feeling about things, right? How is he to hang out with, though? I mean, is he grouchy like on a day when he's pitching?
No, he's quiet. He's to himself, and it took me a long time to get used to that. How he is the day he pitches. He has his routine that he does, and I let him alone today. I normally am, you know, with him and follow him around, but today I let him do his thing. And
you've got a taste now of what your life's going to be like on a day-to-day basis. This is not nerve-wracking.
This is great. No, this is nice. I'm enjoying.
No, I'm not talking about this part, the champagne part. I'm talking about the 5th inning with like guys on base and stuff.
No, it's hard. I get very nervous during the games. I get very nervous, and I just sit back, and I have a lot of wives around me, and they help me through that. But I have faith in him. He's great. So I I know he's going to pull through.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Karen
Thank you.
Kane, soon to be Karen Key. You're going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about that. Jimmy, congratulations. Great year. It was really
Thank
super
you.
to watch. Well, we'll continue post-game here on MSG. Jimmy Kay and his fiance, they got engaged today, of all things, and then went out and won a world championship. How about that? We'll be back in the Bronx in a moment. The Yankees hang on to beat the Braves 3-2 and win this damn thing in the honor of Bob Murphy by the count of 4-2. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Al. What an incredible story with Key, though. I mean, remember when he had to go on the disabled list and had to go back to Florida? He was pitching so poorly. Everyone thought, well, maybe he is done. I mean, what can you expect from a guy who had reconstructive surgery like that?
There's so many great stories you can talk about. And I was thinking earlier, Michael, watching the highlights once again of Charlie Hayes. Here's a guy who did such a tremendous job for the Yankees the first time around. He never wanted to leave, and they had basically a blunder which cost them Hayes in the expansion draft of the National League. He's playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
They're going nowhere.
In front of 1,500 people at Three Rivers Stadium, and all of a sudden the next minute he's back with the Yankees, and now he's a world champion. Just unbelievable.
And David Cone lost most of the season.
Yeah.
Cone comes back, wins a big game. We're going to get to Charlie Hayes now that you brought him up. He's inside the Yankee locker room. This recorded moments ago. Charlie Hayes of the New York Yankees.
I felt the whole time I've been here. If they'd have got the lead, we'd have found out. We'd have filled the way out to win. We've been doing it the whole time. Every game we fall behind, we get behind, but guys never gave up. And I think, you know what, the reason why it was like that and guys just never gave up is just look at our manager. You know, he believed in all of us. We believed in him no matter what 9 guys he put out there. And I tell you what, there's nothing like this. There's no, you know, it's hard for me to explain, but I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Charlie, when that ball is coming down into your glove, I mean, what are you thinking as that ball's coming down to your glove?
First thing I said was squeeze it. At first I thought it was going to be close enough to where the fans might interfere with it. So I was kind of waving my arms, telling them to get back, get out of the way. And as soon as I caught it, you know, it was an emotional period for me because, like I said, 2 months ago I was on the last place team. They was clearing house. I still didn't know where I was going to be. And then to come here and get an opportunity to join a first place team, I was a little nervous. And then when I got here the first day, he threw me in there, and I kind of contributed a little bit right away, and everybody accepted me. And I tell you what, we got a solid group of guys here, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
How about Joe? How much everybody talks about the guys saying they're so happy for Joe. I mean, what is he?
I tell you what, he's been through.
Managers sometimes get knocked different ways, but what's Joe?
He's been through a lot. I mean, one of his brothers died, and the other one needed a heart transplant, and then for him to be here every day and to be into the game the way he was, it made it easier for us players because, I mean, our families come first, you know, foremost. And, you know, to see him every day in a good mood, and we as players know what he was going through, you know, you respect someone for that. And I tell you what, he never, one time since I've been here, told me something that didn't happen. Everything he told me happened, and I respect him for that.
Where's the ball that you caught?
It's in my glove over there. I hope nobody got it. I'm gonna hold that forever. I'll never get that to anyone.
Did it mean a lot to you that he put you out there for defense the last couple of innings, that you were able to be out there on the field?
Yeah, definitely. Guys were telling me, oh, you're a good luck charm, you're a good luck charm. I don't know what I was, but all I can say is that I'm glad I got the opportunity to come here and experience this with a great team, and I hope I'm back.
So you're hoping to get
Good man, Charlie Hayes. But I want to say this. The one rap, and you know this from having covered him so long, the one rap you've heard against Wade Boggs that he is, quote, a selfish player. Well, that's ridiculous. Wade Boggs could have made it so difficult for Charlie Hayes to be with this ball club. Wade Boggs could have gone to the media. He could have criticized Joe Torre for not playing him, for platooning him with Charlie Hayes. And it was Wade Boggs who shut up, who did what he had to for the good of the team, and who welcomed Charlie Hayes to this ball club. And I think Wade Boggs has really got to be given a lot of credit for Charlie Hayes' role with this.
Well, that was after that first negative statement that he made, and that is that, well, if they want Charlie Hayes here, maybe they don't want me here, and I'll go somewhere else and get my 3,000 hits. But he was smart enough to step back from that statement and then conducted himself like a perfect professional from there on. And certainly, I'm going to remember that walk that Steve Avery issued to Wade Boggs to help the Yankees win that huge game. And I'm going to remember Andy Pettitte going on 3 days rest, which is perfect for him, of course, to win 1-0 in Game 5, which got the Yankees to this point and enabled them to win the World Championship, their 23rd in their history. Now, let's listen to Andy Pettitte.
Relax and just worrying about getting through this. When Mel was joking around with me and said, we're out of left-handers, you got an out in you, and that got me a little nervous on the bench, but he was just messing around with me.
You probably didn't feel you were going to go in, though, right?
No, I told him, I called him over and I said, tell me you're joking. Not tonight. Tomorrow night I could, but not tonight. And he said, yeah, I'm just joking.
Andy, tell us what you're thinking in the ninth inning again, a tough situation, and you're praying.
Yep, got to pray for John out there, and I mean, he's done it all year, and he makes it interesting all the time, but he's been unbelievable, and I'm just so happy that he was able to finish it off for us.
People talk about the Braves pitching staff and how great they were. How sweet is it for you guys to come back and beat those 3 pitchers?
Very sweet. You know, we didn't get a lot of respect coming in here, and it's just very gratifying.
After the second game, I couldn't find a writer who would pick you guys. What did you think about the way everybody jumped off the boat?
Well, I just thought if we could we had a lot of confidence going on the road. We knew if we took 2 out of 3 there, we're coming home. And I knew we were going to play a lot better when we got home. If we could just get it in Jimmy's and Coney's hands coming back here, I knew we'd be all right.
So you were never worried?
I wasn't too worried. I was a little worried. I just wanted to get another start after my first one.
How special is it for you to finally win at home? You know, you clinched both series on the road. You finally win it at home.
It's awesome. The fans deserved it, and obviously after the game, just the celebration we had, it was very special.
You always think back to your pitching performance, and when the Yankees needed you most, you were there.
Well, I'm just thankful that I was able to pick the team up a little bit when I needed it after I felt like in the first game I really put the bullpen in a bind and started it off to a terrible series, and I just wanted another shot to try to make up for it.
What's it like to be the best team in baseball?
It's unbelievable. I just love sitting here saying we're the world champs. It's unbelievable.
And there again, Mike, there again, you see our field producer, Anthony Pacilli, who's stealing all of Michael K's thunder. I got to find out, are we paying K tonight?
I hope is he collecting a check for this?
I understand that he's basically now has staggered back into our studios from imbibing all the champagne with the Yankees. And I think Al's propping him up in a chair now along with David
He's
Cohn.
not sitting on the World Series trophy,
I want to see if K slurs his words here now when we go into the studio to talk with Al Trautwig and Michael in a moment.
What about Andy Pettitte at age 24 doing what he did? 5 days ago, we were sitting here. 16-1, the Braves had beaten the Yankees' brains out. Is this amazing or what?
Yeah, and you thought after you saw Andy in Game 1, you know, the kid's nervous, and what are we going to get? You knew what you were going to get from Smoltz, and Smoltz was so brilliant. What were we going to get from Andy Pettitte? We found out. And how about David Cohn? Utterly brilliant, and David Cohn could have been, you know, the guy who turned this World Series around. He certainly was one of them. And let's go back now and join Al, Michael, and David.
Okay, guys, David Cohn's got tomorrow off, and he is absolutely thrilled about it, I'm sure. I mean, to be able to be a champion like this in a circumstance knowing that you would have had to pitch tomorrow, but now you don't? It's great, right?
I'm probably the luckiest guy in there right now. Even down to the last out, Lemke's up to bat, and I'm thinking, this is the wrong guy for this spot. He's come through too many times, and Wetland made a great pitch to get him out, down on the way fastball, 3-2 count.
Talk to me about the fact, I mean, you've gone through this so many times. There's a point where somebody says you have an aneurysm. You don't even know what that means, life or death-wise. And you made a big, big contribution to this team with the win. How do you feel today? Do you think back on everything you've gone through?
Yeah, I really do. When I think back, I think about lying in the hospital bed and listening to Dwight Gooden's no-hitter. And it seemed like when I went down, he stepped up. And then later on in the year, when he started to struggle with his arm, that I came back. And if you combine our stats, we had a pretty good year.
You really did. Where were you when the last out was made? You were on the top step of the dugout?
Top step of the dugout. I thought Charlie Hayes was going to get the first pop-up. I thought he was going to run into the dugout, and he went face first, diving down through, and he didn't get the play. And
I could not believe he got another chance after that. I mean, if you're into destiny and karma and all that stuff, you're like, oh, that was the chance.
That's exactly it. We were thinking, oh, no, don't give Lemke another chance, 3-2 count.
Charlie says he's not giving the ball to anybody, by the way.
Smart guy. I wouldn't either.
Now, you're a guy who's always had a good karma with the New York fans. What was that trip around the field like?
Oh, it was incredible. I'm telling you, we just floated around the field. Joe Torre came and almost got everybody together at once and said, let's take a lap. And we ran around the field, and it seemed like the horses were going nuts. I thought we were going to get kicked.
There was one horse that was really losing it. He wasn't used to winning.
I don't know what that was. Out in Death Valley there was a couple of horses that were bucking up and down and kind of navigating through the horse manure on the field.
See, that's something Jimmy I should have asked Jimmy Lehretz to take care of that. He's the one with the cowboy hats and the boots. Hey, guys, we've got a shot, I believe, of Yankee fans at Mickey Mantle's watching the final out. This should be pretty interesting. Here it was, Central Park South, just a short while ago now. That's sort of a predictable response, wouldn't you say?
Looks pretty sane.
Hey, David, wait till you see the pictures from Times Square that we had on a few minutes ago. Wall to wall, they say 1 million people are in Times Square, and there you see the eruption in Mickey Mantle's in the year that Mickey Mantle is no longer with us.
David, you won a championship with the Blue Jays. You never won one with the Mets. How's this rate?
This is a special team. I mean, from top to bottom. I mean, you can go to every corner of the clubhouse and find a human interest story, but you start at the top with Joe Torre, and a guy who never thought he was going to manage again, gets a chance, who has a couple of brothers that had health problems. One of them passed away, and another one's lying with a heart transplant right now. I mean, that's where it all starts.
Now, David, when all is said and done, I think you're probably one of those guys who wants to go home and take stock of what you did. What did you do to contribute to the championship? What's the most significant thing you think you gave to this Yankee team this year?
Well, I think, I think there was 3 different parts. I think opening day in Cleveland kind of got us off to a good start. I think coming back in Oakland that day when Dwight Gooden was starting to struggle a little bit, and then I think obviously the World Series game 3, to be able to help turn a little momentum our way.
How much pressure was on you in that game 3? I mean, that had to be one of the biggest games you've ever pitched.
It was. I mean, our backs were against the wall. I mean, we were thoroughly embarrassed in the 2 games in New York. The crowd never got a chance to get into the games. People were talking about Atlanta and Dynasty and whether we were going to show up for the World Series. And we got a little bit of momentum in Game 3 and parlayed that into 4 straight wins.
I'm a huge fan of the tradition and the history of this franchise. I mean, to think that you can slide on a ring that's going to be the 23rd World Championship ring. It's going to be the same emblem that Ruth had and Gehrig and DiMaggio and Reggie and all those guys. I mean, I don't know if you could put that into words, but you could try.
It's tough to put into words. I think we've got a group of guys, though, that understand a little bit about the history and guys who appreciate this one a little more the second time around. We've got some guys who have had some comeback stories who maybe were down and out and maybe were out of the game almost at one point. And these guys really appreciate that. It's a mature team in there. It's a team that understands the significance of the history of the Yankees.
A lot of these guys, including Joe Torre, they've all said that the biggest moment of the year, the biggest game, was your 7-inning no-hitter in Oakland because they said, we'll be fine, David's fine, we'll be fine. Did you sense that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too close to the situation because I knew that I had to pick it up. I had to go every 5 days, and I had to come back. And I only had 2 minor league rehab starts, so I knew I wasn't really ready to pitch like I wanted to pitch. But I had to make do with what I had.
Part of you a little disappointed that you don't get a chance? I mean, not that you'd want the team to lose tonight, but if someone said to you, hey, how would you like a Game 7 Yankee Stadium on a Sunday night? You'd say, yeah, I'll take that. I mean, you're not going to have that experience, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said, that wouldn't have been a unique and wonderful experience. But I can live on Game 3 and being part of it and being able to help turn this thing around. And it's kind of a poetic justice that Jimmy Key gets a chance to finish it. And he's been the best pitcher for the Yankees and had a remarkable comeback story of his own.
Now, you're a Manhattan guy, right?
Yes.
Avoid Times Square at all costs as you head home. We're going to get a look at what's going on there. Times Square looking like New Year's Eve. Taxis can't move. Horns are blaring. People are hanging out of cars. And it's all in honor of what the Yankees did tonight in winning 4 straight from the Atlanta Braves. Doing what most people thought would be their undoing. Beating Glavine, beating Smoltz, beating Maddox, and using Andy Pettitte, David Cohn, and Jimmy Key along the way. You're sitting here as a member of a team that started that,
It's tough to put that in perspective.
That celebration, that's your fault.
I think, as a baseball player, and some of it's true. I mean, we do kind of get in our own little worlds and somewhat of a pampered life where we're, with the charter planes and the luggage taken care of us, and we just kind of go forward and worry about the next game. And then when you reach a moment like this, and you kind of sit down and realize the impact it has on a city like New York, it's an incredible feeling.
Now, you grew up in Kansas City, but you are a student of New York. You're almost like a New Yorker now, and you've seen the Ranger parades. You saw the parade that the Mets had in '86. You weren't part of that team. So something you always look forward to, what's going to happen on Tuesday, going down to Canyon of Champions?
Yes, this is the ultimate. This is the pinnacle of all parades, without a doubt. And I think we expect it to be a frenzy. And this is a team that really responded to New York. We had a lot of guys who had choices to play elsewhere, and they chose to come to New York, and that's a rarity. It's the first time that's happened in a long time, to where we've had youth and guys that didn't get traded away from the farm team, and free agents who actually wanted to come to New York, and it made for a great mix.
David, thanks a lot for your time. That word champions, don't lose that cigar. That word champions looks good on you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back in the Bronx as we continue to wrap up what has been a most glorious season. Right now, though, Bob Page and Mike Crispino, guys.
It's the greatest city in the world, and you're seeing tonight, I think, one of the reasons why, in many respects, we have the greatest fans in the world. Why wouldn't you want to come to New York? And I think that maybe this is going to change the thinking of a lot of people.
Well, for years, a lot of players didn't want to come to New York. They didn't want to face the pressure, and some still don't. I mean, Greg Maddux decided to go to Atlanta instead, and he's won a championship there, but he's also been involved in a couple of very, very heartbreaking defeats. The Atlanta Braves leading this series 2-0. Can't finish the Yankees.
Yeah, and again, as we commented earlier in this program, I think there's going to be a lot of criticism in Atlanta from the Atlanta media who say that the Atlanta Braves choked. If you think they choked, show me where. The Yankees simply outplayed them with a great display of grit and a great display of moxie and great pitching.
Well, they blew a 6-0 lead. They made a couple errors in that game to open the door. They made a number of misplays.
Did Wohlers choke on the pitch to Leyritz?
Well,
Leyritz hit a dramatic 3-run homer.
You can't say that's a choke, but I'm saying when you have a 6-0 lead. Now, if the Yankees had blown a 6-0 lead, what would you say?
It depends on what happens the rest of the World Series.
You'd be going like this.
I don't know that I would have done that.
But they did beat Smoltz 9-1 in the postseason. Glavine and Maddox won 106, 105 games in the last 6 years. So they beat the best.
We're still going. We'll be right back after this.
We're back. The Yankees have won the World Series. They're the 1996 World Champions and spoiling what many people think was a march into history for the Atlanta Braves. 4 times in 5 years to the World Series, yet only one victory. Kind of reminiscent of the Oakland A's and that little dynasty they started to develop with Canseco and Mark McGwire back there in the late 80s.
Yeah, the Braves have made some key personnel changes over this last 5 or 6 year run. But, Michael, think about it. 5 straight years they played in the National League Championship Series. That's a great run, and I think they really were playing in a sense for their place in baseball history here. And then it'll be interesting to see if they keep Smoltz and Avery and so on in the offseason.
Smoltz is going to want a lot of money.
We talked earlier about Bob Watson and what a terrific job the Yankee general manager did. Just a short time ago, Bob spoke with MSG's Michael Kay.
A tough year for you, ups and downs in terms of criticism and things like that. Does this make it all worthwhile?
Well, it's worthwhile when you're standing on top of the world as world champions. But that's part of the season. Nobody said it was going to be a smooth road or peaches and cream and all that good stuff. And when you stand here, when you're soaking wet with champagne, and that's what it's all about. To win this thing. And I'm really pleased for the opportunity. George Steinbrenner. Everybody can say what they want about him, all the negative things, but the bottom line is he wants to win. And he has the resources and the frame of mind to try to bring a winner in here. And I just thank him for the opportunity. I said earlier, the reason why I left where I was, I had a good job where I was. To come here because the mission statement was to win. Joe Torre, the reason why he came, mission statement was to win. And George Steinbrenner should be thanked very, very, very much.
Now, a big part of this win was the work of Lloyd and Weathers, and those 2 deals you took a lot of heat on. Is that especially satisfying for you?
They came in and did the job we required them to do. That's all part of it. We're not going to stand here and say, hey, this and that. We're adults, and hey. The bottom line is we got the trophy in our clubhouse right now.
Will you be back next year, Bob?
That's up to Mr. Steinbrenner.
You want to be?
I signed on for a couple of years, so that's the bottom line. We'll talk about all that at another time. Let's talk about winning this thing and celebrating.
But, hey, Bob, last time
Well, Bob Watson certainly has had an up and down emotional ride, and a couple of months ago we were talking as the game was wrapping up. Is it your vision of Bob Watson that he's going to be holding that World Championship trophy?
And there he is. He was there, and the funny thing is, a big part of this game was Bob Watson, the guys he acquired. Graham Lloyd and David Weathers got some very big outs in that 6th inning, and John Sterling and myself, we looked over because they're about two booths over, and he had this big smile on his face. Those deals, I mean, he was ripped for those so badly, and people in his own organization, and those guys played a huge role in the whole postseason. They were great.
Well, Mike, your destiny is to be on the steps of City Hall on Tuesday with your partner John Sterling, and that's of course an honor well deserved. You have any idea what that's going to be like? I mean, it's if the Rangers draw 1 million, who knows what the sport of baseball and the Yankees will do.
I spoke to Mayor Giuliani, and he thinks it's going to be the biggest parade ever. I think the Mets had 1.6, something like that, and he thinks the Yankees are going to have 2.5 million, something like that. So it's always something I wanted to do, and I never got down there in 77, 78, so now I'm going to be right in the middle of it. It's going to be pretty neat.
Of course, the mayor's real smiley now, but wait till he gets the overtime bill from the New York City Police Department for the helicopters, for all the police that were here, the parade.
Knowing him, he'll take it. I mean, he is a huge Yankee fan.
He really
it's not
is.
Just a political thing.
All right, well, there's been, of course, so many Yankees that we could talk to, and we have done that throughout this postseason, but without hearing from Derek Jeter, the definite American League Rookie of the Year, about being a world champion, well, that would be a big mistake. Michael Kay was the man on the scene in this very, very happy Yankee clubhouse moments ago.
Derek, does this feel like anything you thought it would feel like when you're dreaming about it as a kid?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is something that I think every baseball player dreams of growing up. Growing up, they always dream about this, and for me to get that opportunity in my first year, I couldn't have written a better script.
I'm thinking you're 22 years old. You've had a great year, hit over 300. You probably win the Rookie of the Year. You're going to be the world champion, and you are a world champion. Can you top this, Derek? Have you thought about that?
I don't think so. I mean, this is perfect, and I'm going to enjoy this the whole offseason. I'll be partying in New York for a while, and then we'll go down and enjoy this and get ready for next year.
Now, when the ball's coming down into Charlie's glove, you're right behind him. What are you thinking?
Well, I wanted to push him out the way, catch him myself, but anyway we got it. Just as long as we won the game.
Congratulations, Derek.
Thank you.
Derek.
Well, he got our attention as one cool customer throughout this entire season. John Sterling alongside now, and John, it is high, it is far, it is wide. Is going to go down as the trademark call of the 1996 New York Yankees, and you're the reason why.
Well, I think we're very lucky because you do the same job, but and you don't control anything on the field. So finally, the Yankees had a terrific team, and it's been a great ride.
Now, anyone who listens to you guys call a game know how emotional you are about this team and the ups and downs. Were you okay in that ninth inning there?
Well, yeah, because it got so close, and I agree with you, Al. I heard you say something before when Charlie Hayes reached in and he missed by a couple of inches of capturing that ball. You have to think then Lemke, such a tough out's going to get a base hit.
Yeah.
And then on the next pitch, the same pop-up, and Charlie Hayes was there to make the catch, and I'm very happy for Joe Torre among all the others.
Kind of like a mini version of when Yogi Berra dropped the pop-up in that no-hitter, and he got the same thing. Ted Williams passed it up again.
I think Bob Page brought that up before. I mean, to see that happen again is just another one of those destiny things. Did you believe in that? Did you believe in all these little quirky things that were going on?
No, I think you have to do it. You have to execute on the field, and the fact that Jimmy Key struggled with his control. We had him on the radio clubhouse show, and he said he really struggled, but he wanted to get through 5 or 6 innings, and then Graham Lloyd and David Weathers getting out of the 6th, and then Rivera pitching so well in the 7th and 8th, and Wetland again saving it by the skin of his teeth.
You know what I loved the first at bat of the game. When Darryl caught that ball, I said to myself, it looks like they're sharp. I don't know, one guy can't tell you that, but I thought it. I don't know why.
And the Braves had to be reeling anyway after losing 3 straight, and for that ball to be caught, they had to be thinking a little bit, what's going on here?
And look what the Yankees really did in the playoffs. I mean, they went 11-4 against terrific teams, Texas, Baltimore, and Atlanta, 8-0 on the road and 11-4. That's a tremendous record. So they really deserved it, and it was fun to be part of it. People come up and say, congratulations. We didn't do anything. We just broadcast. We want the team to be good. We don't have anything to do with it, so we're very lucky.
His voice doesn't sound so good.
Yeah, but he's got a whole winter off. He'll be fine.
No, he's got to be ready on Tuesday.
Oh, he'll be fine. You put him on a stage, he's going to be great.
Well, actually, you know what? I know how to doctor my voice, and as soon as we leave the stage, I'm going to start doctoring it. He'll be fine.
Well, you guys, it's been a great year, and to spend the postseason as I did in your booth on the road watching the games, I'd like to thank you for letting me have a seat in there. It was a lot of fun.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great. It really was.
Okay, that'll do it from here with John Sterling and Michael Kay. We thank you for joining us for our post-game coverage in the postseason. What a year it has been. Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock, the parade down Broadway. For the heroes that they've been to the city, the Yankees are the world champions. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks very much, Al, Michael Kay, and John Sterling, and Bob Page as well. The theme of this thing, the comebacks. Remember, down 1-0 to Texas, going to Texas, hadn't won there. They win 2 to knock them off. Baltimore tied at 1. They win there. Down 2-0 here. They win there.
It's been remarkable. And just a quick word. I have been an unabashed admirer of both Michael Kay and John Sterling on the radio for a long time, and I have taken exception to some of the critics in this town who have ripped them, and I have told some of those critics that they don't understand what these guys are doing on the radio. I think they're a great radio play-by-play team, and I'm glad to see that everybody now seems to be able to understand that, and these guys are getting the due that they deserve.
All right, and certainly when you work for a team over the course of many years and have to take the lumps like the Yankees did, it must be a wonderful moment right now for John Sterling and Michael Kay.
Yeah, and for George Steinbrenner and everybody, and I think if you sum this thing up, Michael, I think you go back to the interview that Al did with George Steinbrenner a while ago, in which George said he's going to design the ring this year just as he's designed the other rings, and the one word that he's going to put on this ring is courage, because of the way these Yankees played and the way they came back in this World Series. That, I think, is what is going to be remembered about this 1996 world champion New York Yankees baseball team.
And, of course, they did it against the team of the decade. Am I right?
Well, sure. There's no question about that.
The heavy favorites.
Yeah.
A 2-0 lead.
Yep.
And the Yankees able to come back and win it by 4-2, winning tonight 3-2. And I think that's going to wrap it up for the BMW postgame report. But we have several minutes to review what has happened in the World Series.
So on behalf of Michael and all of us here at Madison Square Garden Network, we thank you for joining us on all of these extended New York Yankees postgame reports we've had in the postseason, sponsored by Tri-State BMW. Good night from all of us here at Madison Square Garden Network.